Yo, what up, guys? I'm back with another video. This is like my third time recording this video, just in case you guys are wondering. A lot of people have been giving us suggestions about this topic. They want us to express our drug addiction more, and I don't know, I haven't really been with it. I said, like, from the jump, like, I didn't really want to go in detail about it, just because of other people. I don't know, I don't want people, when they see us, thinking, like, oh, it's Cassidy, the drug addict, or, oh, it's Alexis, the drug addict. Like, I don't want that to be the stigma or anything like that, and, like, I don't know, I don't want this page to be a recovery page. This page is to express the love me and Lex share, and the love our family shares. That's what this channel is about. But I've always been very open about my drug addiction. I've never really sugarcoated it until this channel, and that's due to what I'm nervous what other people are going to think. But I've come to the conclusion, just by talking with Lex and stuff like that, that it doesn't matter what people think. There's going to be more people who are like, wow, like, you guys are powerful, than people who are like, you guys are fucking drug addict junkies. Like, why do you have your kids? And I know what I do. I've been clean a very long time. Going on 3 years. I work to take care of my family. I do smoke pot occasionally. I don't give a fuck. It's what I do. I don't do it around my kids, and I don't do it in my home. What I do on my own time isn't anyone else's business. But that's it. Besides that, I don't do anything. I don't drink. Nothing. And I just live my life normal. Some days are worse than others, of course, but it's what comes with this thing I have inside my body. So I'm going to start from the beginning to the end. I always have had drug addiction in my life since very, very young. My dad, he owned his own business at one point. When I was younger, 7, 8 and younger, I had everything I wanted. I had dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, I raced, we went camping, we went fishing. We did all the things that you should do as a kid. In 2005, my dad his business, he would do telephone poles, run wire, stuff like that. And he ended up climbing a telephone pole that had not been inspected. And he ended up falling 45 feet from a telephone pole. Hold on a second. Babe, can you give me a drink? He ended up falling 45 feet from a telephone pole. He broke his arm and his back. And through his business, he had already had a house. He bought 14 acres of land, built his own house, had a 6-car garage. He had everything he wanted. And he tried to keep the business running for a little while after he broke his back, but it just, people were fucking with his money, and he was losing more money than what he was making. So he decided to just stop with the business. And he went from making mad money to getting $700, $800 a month. I remember the first day he came home from the hospital. I was very young, but I remember I was like 6 years old. He just looked old and like dead, and just, I don't know, just, it was sad, and it broke my heart. And like, he laid on the couch for a long time before he finally got up and was like, I'm not gonna live like this. He would have been, the doctor said it'd be lucky if he could walk, and he would never be able to work again. My dad walks and my dad works, and he is not on disability. He took himself off of disability and got a real job. He ended up getting prescribed pain pills, and that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to him. He had a doctor who was not in it for the right reasons. my dad would go to him and say, like, these aren't working, I want more. Eventually, my dad started abusing his pills. It's what came with that. And he would go to his doctor, say, I don't want these aren't working. So his doctor would up him, or he'd say, I'm allergic to these, I don't want them. And his doctor would give him what he wanted. My mom had, I don't know, my dad would experience withdrawal here and there, and my mom would have to deal with the backlash of his withdrawals. And if anyone knows someone who's going through withdrawals, it's not fun. And my mom ended up going to the doctor and was like, he's doing this, da-da-da-da. He gets mad when he doesn't have them. This is not the life I want to live. Can you wean him off? Like, we need to get him off these. By the end of that visit, my dad ended up leaving with twice his dose and twice the pills. The doctor ended up just upping him, figuring, well, I'll just give him more so he won't go through withdrawals. It was just a fucked up situation that the doctor did. And yes, my dad made his own choices and chose to abuse his pills, da-da-da, but he had a doctor. His drug dealer was his doctor. And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. I lived it. I was right there by him. I believe that if my dad did not break his back, my dad would have never had to go through addiction. It just got worse and worse, and eventually that doctor ended up leaving, and what do you know, a doctor who actually cared and was there for the right reasons ended up coming in and wasn't going to give my dad what he wanted, wasn't going to do this and wasn't going to do that. And at first he tried weaning my dad off, and then eventually he got sick of my dad's problems and just cut him. And when you're prescribed pain pills for 10 plus years and then cut, you're going to go find what you need. And he went and found what he needed at that time. And eventually, I think for so long of my mom dealing with that, she got sick of it and dove right in with him. I never really remember my mom doing drugs when we had the house, but I know she did here and there, but wasn't nothing like my dad. I guess, I don't know, I knew I was different from a lot of other families, just because, like, there'd always be people over at all hours of the night, or people sleeping, falling, nodding out at 2 in the afternoon, or, like, my parents would be in their room a long time, hours on hours. And I mean, I'm old enough to take care of myself at this time. Like, I would just play my video game, not think nothing of it. I had everything I needed, food, water, whatever, shelter. And I don't know, I kept finding these baggies around the house. And I had looked up, like, what they were, and that's when I ended up finding out that my parents were on heroin. I don't know, heroin, like, that's just a scary word, like, heroin. I don't know, it's just, so, like, I was like, what, like, I don't know, the first thing I thought was, like, they're fucking scumbag, fucking junkies, blah, 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 and, like, I was mean when I wasn't when I didn't experience my own addiction. I would be very mean and say, like, they're junkies, da, 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 just stuff that didn't need to be said. And now I realize, like, today, but, I don't know, I was very disappointed, and, like, my parents had lied. They said, like, it wasn't heroin, they said it was oxy powder, but I knew that it was heroin, because I had one, and I said, like, what is this, what was it, and they said, like, oh, oxy powder, da, da, da. My parents were very honest with me. I knew they smoked weed, but not too honest, but honest enough. And eventually, they ended up losing the house on the hill, the 14 acres and all that. And, like, that's when I think my mom just was like, I'm done. Like, my dad had built this house. This was supposed to be my parents' forever home. It was supposed to go down to the kids and then go down to the grandchildren, and like that's just not how it worked. Through my dad and my mom and dad's addiction, we ended up losing everything, absolutely everything. From age like 5 to like 10, me and my dad built this truck, a 1969 Chevy, and I'll try to plug it into the video if I can find a picture. And when we first started building this truck, it was just a seat. That's it, a 3-seat. There was no front, there was no bed, there was nothing, no engine, nothing. And me and my dad built that truck from the ground up. And I was right out there every night with him working on it. It was just a thing we did every night after school or summer vacation, whatever. And we ended up losing that in the process. And like when I think back on it, and like my dad didn't sell it. He asked me like if he could sell it, and like I was like yeah, of course, because we had to get our drugs. When we sold it, I was hooked on heroin as well. So we ended up losing the house, and we moved to the town of Sherburne. We went from a 3-bedroom house, a 6-car garage, to a 2-bedroom trailer, no garage, a tiny little fucking shed of a shack, and a trailer park. Like we lived in the woods. We didn't have to deal with neighbors. We didn't have none of that. So it was a lot. Like it was a real lot for all of us. And that's when I started not giving a fuck about school. I had friends in the trailer park. I was never home. I was always out with my boys. Like I just didn't give a fuck no more. I felt as if my parents didn't give a fuck, so why should I give a fuck? I had smoked weed already before this, but like not like all the time, not every day. It was just a here and there thing. Like it wasn't all the time, and my parents didn't allow it in the house. I didn't do it all the time. But when I moved down to the trailer park, I had my own job. And it might have even been a few months before then that I started smoking weed every day. I was selling it. I thought it was cool. I had money. I had weed. I was the cool kid. Everybody wanted to hang out with me. I don't know. And I started selling weed. Then eventually, how I bought the weed was I had some job every year. So every year I would have that same job, and I would do it every time. I'd end up fucking up my money or something and end up having to. Usually I never made money off of it. I just supported my habits and had spending money and stuff like that. When we moved down to the trailer, I started experimenting with pills, and I would buy weed, sell weed, and use the weed money to buy pills. And then when I'd get my check again next week, I'd buy more weed, start selling it. Like it just was a relaying process. And then eventually, I didn't really, I just didn't really care about my job. I was always a worker. Like I was always a breadwinner. I remember, the first time I smoked weed, I was 8 years old, and I used to go to this place called Medium Man, and my parents would let me go with my sisters. It was convenient at the time for them. They could go do what they would have to do. I wouldn't have to see it. They just felt like they were doing the right thing. So I'd go to this place, Medium Man, all the time, and like that's where I smoked weed for the first time. And I would always like go around asking everyone for $1. Every single person. Can I have $1? I need a drink. Can I have $1? I need a drink. And by the end of the night, I'd have like fucking $15. I'd go home, new hats, like I'd play pool. Like I was I was the young kid that everybody loved. Like everybody knew Cassidy. I was a hustler. He ain't gonna hustler basically. Like I fit in, and I met a lot of people through that. Well, when I moved down to the trailer park, I started doing pills and all that. I did pills basically every day, but I never had felt withdrawal from them or anything like that. I remember I I wanted them. I didn't need them, and I would always make sure I had them. I remember the first time I tried heroin. I couldn't get pills. I would hang out with the neighbor. He would get pills for me mostly. And I had hooked him up through my father to be able to get dope, because that's what he had been wanting. So I said, like, here's his number. Told my dad, like, he's going to hit you up, da-da-da. And I connected him. That night I needed pills. He had heroin, and he was like, well, I can't get you this, but I'll give you some of this, and it's just as good. And that's when I tried heroin for the first time. And, like, I don't know, it was something, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, and I don't want to explain it because I don't want to glorify it, and I don't want anyone to think it's okay. From that day on, I did heroin every day. I didn't stop. I had it every day. I remember the first time I got clean. I had felt withdrawal for the first time. I've never felt this before. I've just always seen my dad go through it. My stomach hurt. I was hot. I was cold. I was sneezing. I had a headache. My bones hurt. I had restless legs. It was just, I don't know. I felt like I got hit by a bus. And I wrote a letter to my whole family saying that, like, I'm addicted to heroin, da-da-da-da. Thinking that they were going to help me, like they were going to get me unsick. After that, I went through 2 weeks of withdrawal and hell. All I did was smoke weed. After those 2 weeks, I thought I was okay and was like, I could do it. I'm going to go back out, hang out with my friends, but I'll be able to say no, like to pills. I'll be able to say no. That same night I went out, I ended up doing heroin again, and it was right off back to the races. At this time, my parents are experimenting with Xanax and heroin, and if anyone knows what Xanax and heroin is together, the combination of that, it's like fucking playing Russian roulette. It's not a good combination, and there was a lot of nights I was scared to go home, and I was always scared I was going to find my parents dead, and like I was never ready for that. No matter what, I love my parents to death, and thank the Lord up above, they're clean today. I don't know, I started to have a lot of hate towards them. Xanax is a bad drug. You are unaware of anything, and it just wasn't good. And as each day passed, their addiction got worse and worse. Eventually, it came down to me selling heroin for my father. He knew people, knew I could make money. I'm not an eyesore for the cops. They're never gonna thank me, and I started selling heroin for him. I thought I was cool. I ran the phone. I had money. I looked nice. Everybody wanted to come to me. I was a boss. I wasn't an employee. I was a boss. Me and my dad ran the business together. That's how I felt. I thought it was cool. And it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all. It was hell. Eventually it ruined our life. I did that for a while, and like the cops caught on. They caught on. They knew I was selling heroin. The cops ain't dumb. There's detectives and all this for a reason. There's cops for a reason. And eventually each time, no matter what, eventually everything ends up falling apart. You either end up doing all your drugs, losing all your money. Something ends up happening every time, and you have to restart. Plenty of times we had to restart, especially because they were doing Xanax. They would lose their stuff, they would do it, it was bad. And eventually, I started being the boss. Like, I was finding the money, I was going out selling, I was having the money to go to Utica. Like, I was just doing everything because my parents were so bad into Xanax, they couldn't really do nothing. And I don't know, that was the worst part. Like, I back then, I wouldn't have thought like that was the worst part of my life, but that was the worst part of my life. I feared every day I was going to lose my parents. Every day. I still have problems now because of it, and like, I don't like to admit that, because like, I don't want anyone to think my parents are bad parents or this or that, because like, my dad went and did his time. He did 5 years in jail. He's been clean 6. He just got out. He's been out a year. My mom did her time. She's been clean. They're great grandparents to their grandchildren. They're great to me. If I go to them today to need help, I'm going to get help. It's just, everything's good now. But back to that, it just got bad. It was getting bad and bad and bad. And like, my dad had gotten into several car accidents already. He, flatlined once, like, he fell out several times, more than once. Both of my parents have fell out several times, more than once. Like I said, if you would have asked me 7 years ago if my parents were going to be here today, I would have told you no. I would have thought they would have been dead, because that's the road they were on. Like I said, every day I would fear coming home. I would make my best friend go inside and like, you need to check on them and make sure they're not dead, because I'm not finding them. And he did. He was a good friend to me. He did. He would go in first, and like, that's a shitty thing you have to ask your friend, you know. October of 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015. The cops ended up kicking our door in at 5:30 in the morning. I was sleeping in my parents' room because we had not had heat at the time. And like, there was a lot of those days. Like, there were no heat, no electric, just everything that comes with addiction. It sucked. It was shitty and it was rough. And I'm glad I'm not in it no more. The cops kicked our door in at 5:30 in the morning. And that's the day my parents' life changed. And back then I would have been like, them fucking scumbag, fucking pigs, da da da. But today, I'll thank them. I'll say, like, thank you for saving my parents, because that's what they did. They saved my parents and they saved me. Well, no, they didn't save me. That's a lie. They went to jail, and you know, like, being I was underage, you think that CPS would come? No, they didn't come. I was on my own for good 3 months after that. Me and my sister bounced off each other. She was in the disease as well. I take care of her, and she take care of me. It was just a cycle. We were homeless for a while. We stayed in the apartment. In the trailer with no electric, no heat. We stayed in there for a while. And like, it was hard for me for a while, like, not having my parents. I've never been without them. I was a kid. Like, I was still young. I still needed them. And she would stay up until I fell asleep to make sure, I don't know. She was there. She was a good sister, and even through her addiction, she did some fucked up shit, but she tried. She did the best that she could at that time. That girl, my sister Ashley, she's my rock. Like, that's my best friend. I don't got friends. That's my best friend. We needed food for the dog. You bet your ass we were going to find food for the dog, because it was me, the dog, and her. That's all we had. Our parents were gone. We're staying in the trailer with no electric, no heat, just looking for our next fix. And that day, the cops told us, don't drive that car. That car is on the detective's list. Don't drive it. Want to know what we did? That evening, we drove that car to the city of Utica to get drugs. That's how sick we were in the head. The cops just told us, like, we are watching that car. We were watching Route 12, like, but we didn't care. Went and got our drugs that day. we stayed at the trailer for a few days, and then we ended up meeting some people from New York City. They stayed there with us for a while. I ran for them, sold drugs for them. That's how I supported us for a minute, and then eventually we got told, like, you need to get out of this trailer, and we went and stayed with a family friend, and I feel he's dead today, but he lived in an elderly home, and he just cared a lot about me. He would have did anything for me, and I turned his place into a trap house. Brought anybody and everybody. Brought my dog. Was doing drugs. Cops were watching it. He ended up getting evicted out of that place because of me, and thankfully I was able to make amends with him. And today I am showing him every day I'm sorry by being clean. It was rough. I was on one road and road only. No one was stopping me. In that time period, I ended up getting with my first girlfriend. I had girlfriends before. I had a girlfriend who lived in another state. We'd never seen each other. It was just over the phone relationship, so I don't consider that nothing. But this time I ended up meeting my first real girlfriend. We didn't last, obviously. I was not in the right state to be loved or love anyone at that time. And through when I was staying at this place, that's when I ended up meeting Lex through my ex-girlfriend. And she was doing the same shit I was doing, just with different things, and living the same shitty lifestyle I was living. I ended up, after, I don't know, I got tipped that CPS was going to be coming to take me to foster care. And, I was not about to go to foster care. No way, it was not happening. So I caught a bus to Connecticut, and I stayed, at this point, I'm still with my ex. I stayed there for maybe 2 weeks, and then my ex had said I had got wind that she was fucking someone else and playing me, and, I don't know, I was at that part of my life, I was not in no position to be played or hurt. I had felt for a very long time that I wasn't good enough for my parents to love me. Why couldn't they stop doing drugs for me? I was about ready to go to foster care. It was rough. I had went and moved to Connecticut with these people. My family I hardly knew. My mom's side of the family, I knew him, but I didn't know him like that. I'm going to live with my cousin I haven't seen in years, and it was just a lot. It was rough. And I stayed a little while, and then I caught wind that my ex was cheating on me, and the only thing I don't know, I figured if I came back, well, I'm here, so now she won't cheat on me. And at that time, I didn't see nothing wrong with her cheating on me. I thought that was okay, and I thought that's the type of love I deserved. No. I ended up coming back because of this girl. I was back one day, and I ended up going to foster care. Today, if you ask me if I regret coming back for her, I don't. I don't regret coming back for her, because I would have never met Lex. I would have never been kicking it with Lex. And due to that, I found the love of my life, and I'm grateful for that. I ended up going to foster care, and that still wasn't the end of my journey. I had been clean. Once I went to foster care, I stayed clean for a good, 6 months, maybe 6 months, yeah. And then I ended up sneaking a cell phone in and getting because in foster care you can't have Facebook, you can't go to a friend's house, you can't have a cell phone. You have to, foster parents go to the store, you gotta go to the store. At least just my case. I don't know about everyone else's cases. It might have just been because I was a drug addict that was the case. But in my situation, I was not allowed left alone. I ended up getting a cell phone, and I remember the first time I got high, and for the first time in foster care. I had been going through some legal trouble. I got caught up with some dope and was going to court for that, and I had to meet with my lawyer, and me and my foster mom just got back from Norwich. I called my lawyer and was like, basically, like, I gotta come in today, and it was my lawyer, so there's no reason for her to talk to him. I ended up telling my foster mom that we needed to go meet my lawyer today because he was going to be on vacation and he couldn't meet with me unless if it was today. So we drove all the way back to Norwich. Really, I'm getting drugs. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting pills. And my lawyer could have met with me any day. And that's when I got high, and from that day on, I was off to the races again. I got high every single day after that, unless I couldn't get it, and it was hardly ever I couldn't get it. I always figured it out. I'd pay people fucking hundreds and hundreds of fucking dollars to bring me fucking drugs 30 minutes down the road, 40 minutes down the road. And I'm paying for something that's worth $20. I'm paying them $100 just to bring it. Like, fucked up. And I'm stealing the money to get these drugs. I did that for a while. My foster mom would kick me out, let me come back, kick me out, let me come back. And eventually she was done. She tried and said, like, you can't do it no more. You gotta go here. And at this point, I had already decided, like, I'm done with this foster care shit. I want to go to rehab because, well, I can have friends in rehab and I will have a better life. I can talk to my family and all this. So the reason I went to rehab at first, not the rehab that I was talking about in my last video. This was before I was with Lex. I went there, and through all this, I had been talking to Lex, but she had her ex-man, and she was living the same life. And I went to rehab. When I left for rehab, I had left saying that I would never talk to Lex again. I was pissed at her because she had hurt me and just the whole shit. I went to rehab. I stayed in rehab for 4 months. I got out successfully, and like that helped me a lot. I gained a lot of shit from that. A lot of things I worked on, and it just helped me. And then I ended up coming to Norwich, and right when I got out of rehab, Lex was just getting out of jail. We linked up and became best friends, and like I had stayed clean for a while, and through people's places and things, I ended up getting back into the shit, and like I did that several times, and then finally, Lex said, like, I'm done doing this. Me and Lex are already together at this point. I'm not going to keep doing this. And while I was in foster care, I had started shooting up heroin. I had already been shooting up at that point, all that, because they moved me to Binghamton, which was the worst thing they could have did for me. And that's when I started shooting heroin. But I went to the rehab and all that. And when I got out of rehab, that's when I met my foster mom. And I don't know, I still talk to her today. When I say my foster mom, that's who I'm talking about. She impacted my life tremendously, and she was the only foster parent that did not give up on me. I chose to move out of her house when I was 18. Like I said, I signed out. She's a great woman. She is in this for the right reasons, and she just, I don't know, she really tried for me. I eventually ended up, after I got back from Connecticut when I was with Lex, that was it. I was ready to be clean. I wasn't ready to lose my family. I had decided that I wanted to be Timothy's parent for the rest of my life, and I wanted to start a family with Lex, and I wanted to do this whole adult thing, and I've been clean almost 3 years. Like I said, I smoke a little herb sometimes. I live my recovery the best as I can. My recovery might not be the same as other people's recovery, but it's my recovery. I'm not hurting no one today. I'm not harming myself today, and I can say that I am living life the right way. I have my own house, I have vehicles, my kids have everything they need, and I'm grateful, beyond grateful. I love my life, and can't wait to keep creating life with Lex. She's my world. I believe that's my soulmate, and I'll never give up on that. Alright guys, that's the end of my story, and like I said, this is my story, no one else's. Make sure you like, subscribe, definitely subscribe, share this shit, do whatever you gotta do. We're on the road to the top, and that's a fact.
Hi everybody. So we promise that this will be probably the longest video that we ever make, but I don't know, I just feel like we should let you all know, for those that don't know us, who we are right now today, that don't know us, let you know about our past problems with addiction, so that way you get a more clearer understanding of how and why we live the life that we do now in today's world. So everyone, we live a life of recovery now, and our recovery may not equal up to your recovery. Everyone lives their own recovery and their own plan, and whatever works for them. So I just wanted to put that out there. What you believe in, we might not believe in, and what we believe in, you may not believe in, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, like I said in my other video, I really didn't experiment with drugs or alcohol until I was out of high school. But I do remember my first time drinking ever in my whole life was either the week before I started my freshman year of 9th grade, or I think I went to school a couple days, and then it was the weekend, the first weekend of freshman year. I think that's what it was, because I went back to school and everybody was talking about me. So anyway, me and my best friend at the time, so this was 9th grade. I was like 16 years old. 15 maybe? I think I was 15. And still to this day, she's my best friend. We've been best friends for 20 years. I'm not going to say any names, but so me and her best friend, I don't know, we just wanted to drink, I guess. So like we all made all these lies to our parents. We were going there, and then they would tell their parents we were coming here. So like no parents would, call and whatever. So I can't remember the name of it. Southern Comfort, that's what it was. So somehow we had gotten a bottle of Southern Comfort, and it was like late at night, and we all met at this park in the town that we live in, and we were drinking. So we had this big glass bottle of Southern Comfort, and it was fucking big, and then a big like dollar store jug of Kool-Aid or something to like chase it with. So that was my first time drinking. What happened that night, I can't give you all because I still don't remember. We started drinking at the park. I don't know how long we drank for. It seems like forever, but we drank and we were all wasted. And we started walking, walking through the night, and it was the weekend. And I think we walked to McDonald's. I don't know why. I don't know if we ordered food. I don't remember. We must have ordered food, and like I was acting a fool, and all of us were. But later to find out, I was the one that was like highly intoxicated, and shit happened worse to me. So we must have all been acting a fool, and the people at McDonald's called the cops because we were young kids in their eyes, wasted. So they called the cops, and the cops came. I don't remember. This is just from what the other girls have told me, that one of my friends was upside down in the cop car. The other one peed her pants, and I don't know what I was doing. So we go to the police station, and I think we all got arrested. Or they all called our parents or something. I don't know if the cop drove me to the hospital or if I got in an ambulance, because I don't remember any of it other than what we did at the park, and then the rest of the night is just a blur to me. I don't remember any of it. So I ended up going to the hospital, and at that time my parents knew. My parents were there with me, and I got my stomach pumped. I got alcohol poisoning and was extremely drunk. I blew a 0.22. I don't know. It was like triple the limit that you were supposed to. And for my first time drinking, like, that was deadly to me. So all I know is the next day I woke up. And when I woke up, I just thought something was weird because I woke up at my house. And, like, I had told my parents that I was spending the night out. So I'm like, wait a second. And then I must have, like, touched myself, or I don't know. But I had them things that the hospital puts on you, I don't know, so you can breathe or something. I had all these sticky things stuck to my chest, and I'm like, oh, fuck, like, I am in trouble. And I'm at my parents' house, like, oh my God, I was in trouble. So, yeah, that was my first time drinking. And that was 9th grade. So I didn't drink for years after that. Because, like, you remember at your first time doing something and just how bad it was. Like, I had held on to it and just remembered, like, it was bad and I'm not going to do it again. But over the years they had went on, that horrible big thing that you have in your mind, like, just gets smaller and smaller until, you're like, it wasn't that bad. Like, I'm going to do it again. So I went to parties throughout high school. Not a lot. Like, this is 4 years later, my senior year, I started going to parties. I would DD a lot, and then, like, eventually I just started drinking. Sometimes, So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It probably sounds crazy me saying that I never had a problem with alcohol. I never have. I just did, like, childish stuff throughout my high school and everything I just explained. But and any time that I did drink or was around people that were drinking, I would never say any drugs were around, or if they were, anyone that had them would keep them away from me, because I wasn't that. I didn't live that life. I didn't think I hung out with people that did drugs. Looking back at it now, like, in my sense, like, everything that I've been through, I'm like, yeah, like, all these people were doing drugs and I didn't even know about it. Which is cool, they kept it from me. They didn't want me being around it. They weren't trying to get me to do it. So the time in high school, and, like, high school parties, and I never, even if I was around it, like, it was not cool. Like, that's probably why they didn't bring it around me, because, like, they knew I had a brother, and he was in my whole high school, like, growing up, like, he was a drug addict, and, he was in and out of rehab, and that was my older brother, and I loved him so much, and I don't know, it's my brother. So, yeah, I didn't do nothing until I got with Timothy's father. And at the time I got with him, I did not know, like, oh, I'm gonna go be with this guy. I didn't know anything about him other than I thought he was cute, and I wanted to get out of the relationship I was in at the time, which I was with this guy from high school for years and years and years. I know it's so messed up, but I don't know, I just wanted to be with someone new. So when I got with Timothy's father, as you know, like, we got pregnant, got married, had the baby in Florida. Timothy's father did some criminal activity in Florida, so then he had to run from Florida, and we moved to Pennsylvania, where it was a safe spot for him to go. So we ended up in Pennsylvania. So we're in Pennsylvania, and we would do, like, weekend trips to New York, because my family's very close. Like, anytime I've ever lived anywhere, I can't, because I miss my mom. I may act like I don't, whatever, but, like, I love my mom, and I can't be away from her. So we would do these weekend trips to New York, and at the time, like, Timothy's father would go and get meet up with people and bring stuff back to Pennsylvania. And at the time that I'm talking about, it was pain pills. Nothing harder until me and him weren't together. So after like 6 months of doing that, I ended up trying it, you know, because like he would get energy, and like our relationship was just like so bad. Like there was no touching, no affection, no nothing. But when I would see him, you know, crush something up and snort it, he had all this energy and was happy. And like we would take pictures and like just show like our marriage is so cute, and like, you know, like we're so in love. And it was just all an act, you know, like it's because he was high. And now knowing, you know, the feeling and stuff, like I can like that's what it was, you know, just drugs. So I eventually ended up trying it, and I would do it here and there. And one time we came to New York and hung out with my older brother and his wife. And I remember we had all got our taxes, and we were going to Syracuse Mall to get our kids' clothes, and our kids weren't with us. Somebody had got something and brought it to the house, so all four of us split it and went shopping, and like, you know, had a good day together, or, you know. So that was on a Saturday. I did it on Saturday. I did more of the pill on Sunday. I went home on Monday. And I remember my first time ever feeling any type of withdrawal symptom. And I didn't do it a lot, you know, but since I had done that drug 3 days in a row, my body felt it. And the next day I did not have it, so I went into withdrawal. And I didn't know that at the time. Like, I just felt like so sick. I was hot. I felt like I was getting the flu. So I called my brother and I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I don't know what's going on. And he said, like, you're sick. And I'm like, well, no shit. And he's like, no, like, you were doing this all weekend and you don't have it. It's called sick. Like, you are withdrawing from drugs. You don't have any. He said, take a bath. Don't tell mom. And, you know, you'll feel better. So I did take a bath. And I'm just sitting there in the bath like, damn. Like, Timothy's father's been doing it forever, and I don't see him act like that. I do it one weekend, and I'm like, fucked. So after that, I didn't do it for a very long time. Until I did it again. And I just, after that time, like, that was it for me. I wasn't doing it again. And like more months pass on and pass on. And Timothy's father, like, is an active drug addict. Like, he needs it all the time, to the point where, like, he's doing shit behind my back. I would go to New York and visit my family, and all the money would be out of his bank account because I had the mobile app on my phone. And then I would say something, he would be like, yeah, I need to go talk to the bank. I don't know where my money is. And, like, I'm not stupid. Like, and, like, what hurt me the most is that you were lying to me. After all the defending and lies that I have said and did for you, now you're lying to me. And, like, that just continued and continued. So, like, I left. But that's the reason why I left. But I also came back from a trip to New York, and my entire trunk was full. He must have got from the pharmacy, like, a box of needles so he could inject himself. And there was boxes. Like, I think there was, like, 500 packages. No, there was 500 syringes. So there was probably like 50 boxes. Like, it was insane in my closet. And I'm like, whoa, you know, when the fuck did this happen? So I don't really remember how it all played out, but he did not stop. So that's why I left and never looked back. And like the months passed on that we were separated, and I didn't do nothing. And I just got, I don't know, I never wanted to be alone. Like, the family that I created at such a young age with my first child, the man that I married, like, I was just devastated, you know. Like, of course, me, the bad kid of the family, has a broken home. Like, of course I would do that. So, I don't know, I just looked for men that, you know, were just like me, I guess, you know. And the person that I dated after Timothy's father, he did drugs too, so that is when I started using a needle as well. And I would always say throughout, like, before I ever did drugs and, like, my whole drug thing, like, I would never use a needle, and I would never, ever in my life do meth, ever. And I've done both of them. So I get with this guy, and I don't know, like, if you ask my mom, I don't know to this day if this is what she would still say, but she's always said, like, you are not a drug addict, you're addicted to bad behavior. And, like, I can't be like, I'll prove it to your mom, I'm a drug addict. Like, she just, I don't know. But I understand why she would think that, because out of all the years that I used, like, it was so easy to, I don't know, just hide underneath all the wrongdoings of my brother. Like, the spotlight was always on my brother because he was the known drug addict of the family. So no one ever looked at me. No one ever thought that it was me. Or just the scumbag boyfriends that I would bring to the house. So I got with this guy, and what I always started was, I did opiates. I did pain pills, I did opiates. And then I started injecting the opiates too. So I did heroin a few times with that summer after leaving Timothy's father, and then I was just always way too scared. I don't know, heroin's just a crazy word. And, like, back then, like, just starting, like, doing drugs, like, I just thought, like, I'm gonna do all these pain pills, but I'm not gonna do that heroin because that will kill you, and I don't want to die. So I don't know, I guess I went without my family noticing my addiction for about a year and a half. And then, I wonder, I don't know what. So I've always, my whole life, my entire life, has had a bad problem with my self-esteem. Like, I've always thought I was fat. I always thought I wasn't pretty. Like, I don't know, I always felt like second to anybody. I've always had a problem with my body image. So, in being with Timothy's father, that didn't help it at all. Like, I had married this man, and he would call me fat, and not knowing, like, we just had a baby. Obviously, I'm fatter than when you got with me. I just had your baby, you know, like, we just wanted a baby, had a baby, and now you don't want nothing to do with me because you're not attracted by me because I'm so fat. So when I would do drugs, you know, like, I would be like, have energy and move all over the place, and I was losing weight. So, like, when I had left Timothy's father, I started losing weight. And I was losing my baby weight, you know, from having Timothy, but I was losing weight, and, like, I felt good and I felt pretty. And this one time, my boyfriend at the time came back to my house with meth. And I must have just been like, I don't know. But I tried it, and for my first time, at that time, I was injecting drugs. And that was the one and only time I tried it for like a year and a half. And when I tried it, I'm like, wow, like, I know myself, and I know that I can never do this again because it feels way too good. So I didn't. And the boyfriend that I was with, he ended up going to jail. And right then, at that point in my life, was the first time that I have been alone without a man during my drug addiction. So, like, now it was all up to me. And, like, do I get clean? Like, I didn't know. And when he had went to jail, in my mind, like, I was trying to come off everything. I was taking, like, ibuprofen and other over-the-counter pain medicine just, like, to help my body. And, like, and at this time I was a CNA. Like, I worked my ass off to get my CNA. And it was, as soon as I got it, I started doing drugs. And I ruined that. So the guy had went to jail. and I was going to work, coming home, and then like I would go to the bar, and then I don't know, all of a sudden I had all these friends. And I felt I didn't have anyone to answer to. I could do whatever I wanted. And I don't know, it was a feeling that I've never felt before. So that is when my entire life went fucking downhill fast. So the boy went to jail. From the beginning of August until the end of August, I became addicted to meth. And from the end of August to the end of September, I had probably went from 160 to 107 pounds. So in my parents' eyes, my grandparents' eyes, I'm moving home to be with them at probably like a size 18. And then I get with one boyfriend, and now I'm down to like a 12. And now I'm a 0. I'm a size 0 in less than a year. And that's just not normal for me, because I've always been like not a bigger girl, but I've never been a size 0 in my life. And I don't know, in my mind, like I thought I'm skinny, like I'm finally skinny and I'm beautiful, and like all these people want me, and like I have all these friends, and obviously they weren't my friends, but like it's just something that I have never felt. And so I was addicted to meth, and then the person that I was doing the meth with and getting the meth from, like I have learned, he made the meth. So I was with this person, you know, just watching and hanging out as friends, and then that person gets caught up, and now he's away, and now everyone's coming to me. Where do I get it? So I was still wrapped up in all that, you know, making deals and bringing it to everybody. And throughout, like, interacting with people because of meth is when I met the person that I ended up getting arrested with. And so it's so sad. So I was still doing meth. Like if I would do anything. If you had a drug, I was going to do it, because I was addicted and I didn't really care. So through my addiction, I have seen some very dark things. I've been in a lot of dark places. I've been beaten so badly where I couldn't even see. I couldn't even stand. My addiction brought me to squatting in an abandoned building on the run from the police. And just an abandoned building in like the ghettoest place in the middle of a ghetto, in a city that I don't even know, with just this man that, you know, I thought loved me so much. I was just done. Like I wanted out. I was just done. But I always wanted out, but I just didn't act upon it. I didn't do nothing. But when I had nothing and I was sick and I didn't feel good, then I would cry and I would miss my son. And like I really wanted out. Like there were so many times where I would walk, you know, try and walk to the corner store to call my mom, and I wouldn't even make it there because I would be dragged off by my hair. Like, you're not a good mom. Your son doesn't love you. Like, so, I don't know. I just didn't want to be alone, and that shit is no joke. And just domestic violence is no joke. Like, I've been through so much. And, like, I don't know, you may not think it, if you don't know me, but, like, I've survived a lot of stuff. And I don't know, throughout growing and being in recovery, I've learned to be a voice and not a victim. And I don't know, till this day, like, I'm still trying to get the courage to speak at a speaker NA meeting, because I have a story, and a story that could help somebody. But I don't know. I'm just a big pussy, and I am nervous to speak in front of people. So towards the end of my addiction, is when I was staying in the abandoned building with this man who I thought I was so in love with, that would beat me every day. Like, still to this day, I have a broken nose. Anytime I open my mouth or I eat, my jaw clicks, like, because I was so in love with this man, and he was so in love with me, but anytime something didn't go his way, I would get my ass beat. I have shit on a living room floor, like, I have done anything imaginable that is disgusting. I have went days and days without showering because, like, this is where my addiction brought me, and it still wasn't enough for me. Like, that right there, this what I'm telling you right now was my rock bottom. Like, that was it. That was it. So, and the only reason, like, it got that nasty, because, like, nobody wanted us around. So, like, we had to go to a whole nother city on the run from the police. We had to go to a whole nother city, and he, like, said, don't worry, I got people out there, they're going to take care of us. And we got out there with just the outfit that we had on in the middle of summer, and I have fucking Ugg boots on, and nowhere, no money, no phone, no nothing, and now we have to survive. So at the end of that, I ended up getting a manufacturing charge. I was arrested for manufacturing meth and went to jail. So I did my time and got out, and that is when Cassidy got out of rehab and foster care. And I have known Cassidy through, like, just, I gave her a ride one time to get drugs, and I don't know, we just wanted to leave all of that out, just because, like, that's not who we are today, and, like, that's just our past, but, like, that's what made us who we are, and that's why we have everything that we have, and that's why we're so much smarter and have grown so much, and, like, have two beautiful kids, because of what we have went through in the past and what we've learned and lived through. So I was so excited to see Cassidy, because anytime I would talk to her, like, I would get my ass beat, because this guy knew, like, I liked Cassidy, and I would try and talk to her behind his back. I was just so excited to see her. So the dance that she's talking about, like, is when she fell in love with me. It was an NA dance, in the city that I had went to while I was on the run, like, my lowest point of addiction. So, like, it just brought back, like, I don't know, it was, like, not a trigger for me, but, like, just all the horrible things that I have went through in that city. And here I am with her, clean, having fun. Like, I don't know, in my head, like, I was already, like, there's a lot going on. And then I got my best friend trying to be all over me when I know she doesn't want to be with me. So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But then she fell in love with me, so I guess it worked out. So when I got out of jail, I was on drug court. I got a 6.5. I did 6 months in jail, 5 years probation in drug court. I ended up doing, like, almost a year in jail. I did 2 years on drug court, and I'm still on probation. But, yeah, it changed my life. And, like, I would say, meth ruined my life. And yes, meth ruined my life, but because of everything that I've been through is, like, the foundation of my recovery and sobriety and everything that I have now. I am so close with my mother and my grandparents. My brother, who is clean now, he's got a couple years clean. Like, just life is good, and, like, we're close to her family, and I don't know, just just everything that means the most, like, we have now, and we're trusted and respected. And so when I got out on drug court, and she was clean, and, like, we had the exact same clean date. Not clean date, but, like, she was getting 3 months. I was getting 3 months a week after her. So she ended up, you know, doing some things behind my back, like talking to people that she shouldn't have. And when I say behind my back, I don't mean, like, hanging out with bitches, like cheating on me. I mean, she's never cheated on me. She's cheated on me with drugs, but she's never nothing with another female, like cheated on our relationship. She ended up getting in touch with people that she shouldn't have been in touch with, and she ended up relapsing. And obviously I loved her, like I wanted to save her and do anything that I could for her, but it happened so many times, and this was almost a year into our relationship, where like I couldn't do it anymore. Like it was, now I know how people feel like loving a drug addict, because I was fighting so hard to get myself back and get my life in order, and you know, and here I have, like, people know that she's using, and I'm with her on drug court. Like, how does that make me look? And of course, you know, it just wasn't good. So I said, like, I called her rehab and put her ass in rehab, and she went to rehab. And then not shortly long after she got out of rehab, she started hanging out with the same people and started getting high again. So I did again, like the time that I sent her to rehab, I didn't leave her. I just said, like, you need to get help, blah, blah, blah. So then she got out, used, and then this time I'm like, this is it. Like, this can't happen. I cannot be with you. Get out of my house. So she got out of my house. I let her say bye to Timothy later on when he was in the bath, and, like, that was so sad. And, like, after Timothy's father, like, I promised I would never let someone hurt Timothy the way that he's been hurt. And Cassidy has never, ever hurt him. But them saying goodbye to each other, like, because in my heart I'm like, I need to be done with her, and that's it. So after, you know, in my mind at that time, I'm like, you know, if you clean up, you can always contact Timothy, you can always go out with him, you can always do whatever you want to do with him, as long as you're clean. But we ended up, like, I loved her, like, and she went away to Connecticut to her brother's house, and then she was doing good, so I'm like, obviously I want to be with you, I love you, you know. And she came back, and things have been amazing ever since. In December, I will have 3 years clean, and in, like, a couple months after that, she'll have 3 years clean. Things have just been amazing, and I'm just so glad that I was strong and stuck to my plan. And I'm just so fucking glad that me and Cassidy got together, and, like, where I lack, she picks up, and where she lacks, I pick up. And, like, if I have a bad thought, she's not. If she has a bad thought, like, we help each other, and we even each other out. Like, she wonders where she would be in life if I never got with her, and I wonder where I would be if I never got with her when I got out of jail. I'm not saying I would have used, but, like, my pattern, shitty men and shitty places and shitty things, like, I feel like that was my self-worth, and that's what I deserved. And throughout being on drug court and drug and alcohol and counseling, like, I have learned so much. And, like, I've always had self-image issues, but, like, being clean and recovery, like, I know that I'm beautiful, you know. Like, I may think I'm fat here and there and have bad days, but, like, I'm alive. I have children. Like, there are so many worse things that could happen because I've lived them, and they have happened. Like, I don't let no petty shit get to me. So, I don't know, we just wanted to make these videos so you guys could understand what we've been through. And we made our first couple of videos, we talked about the dance, and I said, can we tell them what dance? And she said no, because she just didn't want having bad attention brought to our YouTube channel, or, like, just anything. And, like, I talked to her, like, there's a lot of people that have lived the same life as us, and or not even drug addiction, but, like, been in domestic violence situations, or been in foster care, or just been to a rehab for some sort of, and, like, we relate to that, you know. So, like, let's just share what we've been through and the things that we've seen and places that we've been, and, you know, like, now we all can talk about it. But, yeah, so this is gonna be the longest video that we probably ever have. We want to do so much stuff, you know, but we're new, starting out, so we would love to do, like, Q&As, but that's up to you guys to ask us questions, and we'll make a video responding to them. Just so much other things. So today in our life, like, when we first started getting sober, we went to a lot of meetings, self-help meetings, AA, NA. We probably went one every single day, you know, like, we'd bring our kid with us, or he would stay with my mom. Now, through our whole years of being clean, we always go to meetings, but sometimes they get less, and then sometimes we go to more. But it's just hard, but when we were getting high, we would have walked 8 miles in the snow. We would have done whatever we had to do to get high. So you have to look at that the same way. You got to do whatever you got to do to go to a meeting, because you never know. You could be having a bad day, and whatever you hear at that meeting could save what's in your brain, So we are all for NA and AA. We don't go to the meetings. There's really no meetings where we live anyway, but we drive an hour away to other meetings, and that helps us. Some people may not understand the sense of going to a meeting, but it helps you, and it just reminds you, if a new drug addict walks in right off the street, just it's their first meeting, it just reminds you of where you have been, where you could be. If you use right now, that's exactly where you'd be. So it just keeps it fresh in our mind, what we've been through and where we've came, and meetings just have always worked for us. So still to this day, we go to meetings. We probably go to 2 a week, sometimes 3, just depends on work and the baby and Timothy and school, but we'll make time for it. We definitely will. And now I don't go to counseling, because I was in counseling for almost 2.5 years. So I've just recently gotten out of that, and we just live our life. People, places, and things is a very big, big thing. And if you're not ready to be clean, then nothing will keep you clean. You are the reason why you pick up, and you're the reason why you don't. So it's all up to you. So if anybody, wants to reach out, or if anybody wants to talk, if anybody needs help, you can always come to me. You can come to Cass. Just for anything, Even if we know nothing about it, we're still here to listen. We're still here to guide you in the right direction, and, maybe we can help you. Who knows? You don't know if you don't ask. So, yeah, I'm going to end this video. Yeah, so have a good night. I hope that, I don't know, my story doesn't need to mean nothing to you, or maybe it will, I just hope now maybe if you know me but you don't like me, or just now maybe you know me a little bit better, and maybe now if I acted a certain way in my couple years before, maybe now you understand why, or what I was going through, or maybe you're just wondering why I have really shitty taste in men, and now why I have a woman and am so in love with her. Now you understand why. So have a good night, guys. We'll see you soon.
You know I love you.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Okay, so our video's over. Make sure you like and subscribe and share our video.
Yeah, and ring that bell to get post notifications when our videos drop.
And make sure you subscribe. Subscribe.